what do you see in the world and what would you want to change, right? And so there's a whole plethora of things that can turn into different professions. We do a lot of questions um, about their why, who they are. And then we kind of like come up with a concept of a business plan. There's a particular format that needs to happen. It needs to be someone who's writing a check needs to know about your vision, your mission, your target market, your market strategy, money, operations, structure is the business plan. And there's when we work with industry, when we have our guest speakers come in, we bring in real live people in every class to speak directly into, hey, let's flesh out your idea. Let's be a little bit more. Hey, how many widgets do you need to sell to make that projected revenue? So we work on that business plan. We bring in marketers to say, I really don't understand where you're going. Having that feedback, having that constructive criticism lowers a student's anxiety and they start believing, yeah, my idea has some validity to it.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of NEA Impact, where we talk to leaders in the area about how they are giving back to the community. Again, I'm your host, Dagan Davis, and our guest today is Henry Burrell. He is the founder of the Jonesboro Business Association. Henry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive right into some questions. I know I mentioned the Jonesboro Business Association. For people who are not familiar with this association in the area, what do you guys do, and how are you helping people in the area?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. And I work with a very skilled group of teams that tell me that the answer that I normally give is kind of complicated. So I'm going to make it as simple as possible. If your listeners walk away with anything about JBA, I want them to remember this. JBA helps students connect their potential where they are now with their future opportunities, right? Yeah, there are tons of economic opportunities in any community, but helping them get from where they are now to those opportunities is what we do.
Okay. And then what ages of students are we talking about?
So that's another really good question. So our research shows that you can start having these conversations with students as early as the seventh grade, right? So we work with students from seventh all the way up to 12th. And when we say 12th grade, we view that as the moment a student needs to make a commitment, whether that to be career, job, or college.
Okay. And so you're just kind of guiding them and giving them the guidance, giving them the resources available in the area to kind of guide them in what they're wanting to do, whether that's college, whether that's career.
Correct. In its simplest form, what we do is work on those soft skills that build belief and confidence. You cannot have skill development before you have belief and confidence. And those things manifest themselves because I've been an employer for 30 some odd years in a previous life, right? And I can teach you what buttons to push. I can't teach you to care about the sequence in which they need to be. And so if we don't start working with students about what they believe in, their confidence level, there's always going to be in terms of like industry, it's going to be high turnover, low retention, poor investment in recruiting.
Okay. And so are you working with businesses in the area to kind of connect them with the right people?
Yeah, so that leads us to, and I'll bring it out in further conversation when we talk about the ecosystem, right? So one of the biggest combatants about that we see is that there's not a lack of talent in any community here in Jonesboro, Craighead County. There's not a lack of talent. There is a lack of connectivity, right? So when you talk about a pipeline about how do I get a student from point A to point B, meaning for the job interview, that's what we call the ecosystem. How do we work together? The platform or the audience is the student, right? The pipeline is any nonprofit organization, any business, higher education. All of us have to work together and connect what we do with each other and create pathways. for students. We just need to highlight if our program gets them the juices flowing because we introduce concepts in the realm of entrepreneurship. But when you leave our program, we put you what track do you want to if you're college bound, then we want to illuminate the pathway to get you to college. Hey, my resume, what schools, have I checked on my financial aid, all of those things. And we work with ASU to help build that out. If you want to be in the job market and you can't have what I call delayed income. Like when I graduate, I need to get a job. Then we want to connect you with, the biggest economic drivers in this area, which are ag, manufacturing, retail. We want to make sure that you've been connected with them as early as middle school and they're with you along the way. Form those relationships. So I know that my local employer, right, the High Trawl, is a good one. Swept Away is been a sponsor of ours. If they're thinking 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, then we have their future employees in our pipeline that they can recognize, identify, and interact with while we're growing them. So yeah.
Yeah, I can see a big advantage of starting early like that, as early
Hmm.
as the 7th grade, like you said, because that's really where you start making decisions, right? You're starting to get ready for high school. You're starting to think about what kind of classes you want to take, things like that, and you have to start making those decisions. You're playing sports, maybe, or
Hmm.
in some kind of organizations within the school where you're starting to become a leader, starting to figure out who you are as a person, and so that's a great time to start. For you or for JBA, what does success look like in that program? How would you measure the success of a student coming through the program?
Yeah. So in our current stage right now, we have a grit score. So there's a Dr. Angela Duckworth who has conducted a great deal of years of study and came up with the number one indicator of future success is one's grit score because it's minus a GPA and it's really minus the economic circumstances that that student may be in. So I could be for a rural county where not a lot of access to resources, but I still have that grit and I can still project to be successful in my further down the line. So grit is passion and perseverance over time. So we measure that. And it's a 1 to 5 scale. And we do that pre and post, and we get the grit score. We quantify that. Then success for us is if there is growth in whatever band, 1 to 2 is the lowest, 3 to 4 is the most common, 4 to 5 is the highest. If there's growth within a band between point 0.5 and 1, right? But as long as there's like a 0.5% moving forward, we consider that to be success. Then the next stage that we have after that is we look at the student's level of readiness. How well do they understand, like you had mentioned before, I want to go to college or I want to play professional sports? Do they have knowledge going into high school of what pathway that they need to take, or do they know their level of readiness? And then we ask them and they ascertain a track, whether they're college bound, job bound, or career bound, which could be a whole bunch of different things or combination thereof. The last thing that we're working on, we haven't quite gotten there yet, but we're working on a post evaluation. Once a student has been placed either college or in the job market, we have a 12-month tracking and evaluation of them. Did they stick? Do they have growth potential? Our data shows right here, because we've been doing this for about 2 years, that you can create and grow and instill a growth mindset into a student. I can convince a student that failure is not a permanent condition. So success is measured in those terms.
Yeah, I like that, that you kinda stick around too, and it's almost like an accountability, measurement as well, or just an extra mechanism in there, to kinda encourage them to be working on not only getting into a career or getting into college, but then working on progressing through that, which is awesome.
Yes. So we feel like we've created a new vertical, meaning that there are no long-term longitudinal studies are tracking a student from point A to point B, right? And so this should have huge value for it's really the people that are feeling the pain point are employers, right? It's difficult to talk about your staffing plan or 5-year projections if you don't have a systematic pipeline. And there's a ton of things happening here in Craighead County. It's amazing the things that the chamber, the universities, the city has put together, but there's still a lot of room for improvement, and we can get more productivity if we start a little bit earlier and then track that information.
Yeah, and that's great. And one thing with hosting this show, I've learned a lot about the community and how involved everyone is with
Mhm.
organizations and giving back and everything. And it's really eye opening. It's awesome. But one thing I'd like to know is if I'm a parent watching right now, watching this podcast, and I want to get my child involved, or I don't know if they're involved. How are you guys working on that? Are you working directly with the schools already? Or how does that come about?
Yeah, it's really, really a great question. So when we designed this program, when we put JBA together, we did not want to be an opt-in program. So meaning that we didn't want to be an after-school program. So we have worked with the Jonesboro Public School District and then also Nettleton in being part of their core curriculum, one career development, the other one Keystone. Right. And so we supplement a huge chunk of that class, like 7 to 9 weeks. And we talk about 3 different components. So we work with schools and we try to be in the classroom. So we're in the classroom 7 days a week. No, I'm sorry, 7 days a week. 4 to 5 days out of the week, and therefore every classroom, and then we work with the students all the way through. If things go well, we are now working with another program that handles school districts throughout rural Arkansas, and hopefully we'll be in 6 additional school districts in the fall. The way that we cover all of this is the first 2 years, myself, we have used interns, we use substitute teachers to teach our curriculum. Now we're moving to a model where we'll be teaching the teachers how to do it. And then they're just using our curriculum and our database to plug in progression in numbers, and we'll follow up with that one. So hopefully we'll be in 8 school districts and part of a core curriculum. So for a parent, just follow along with what your kids are doing. And then our program is designed in such a way where we want parent participation. And we are building out a dashboard that we can send to parents so parents can see the progression of the kids and have also access to their pathways. Because it's going to take the schools, private industry, and the parents, all of us working together. It takes a village, right?
Yep.
To make this thing happen where success for a student is not sporadic, but it's systematic. That's what we wanted, a reliable, systematic system pipeline for kids to go from point A to point B.
And that's what I think you mentioned earlier with the ecosystem, correct? So
Correct.
with with uh with that, what is the difference between just a program and an entire ecosystem?
Yeah. So that's where it can get a little complex. So when you work in silos, okay, then my data stays in the silo, right? The language stays in the silo. So a student in the 7th grade could be in the Boy Scouts and hear certain things about what leadership is, what critical thinking is, but then go to another program at their school and they give a completely different definition, so it never sticks. So when we work in an ecosystem, what we want to do is we want to use a shared language and we want to use shared data. So I don't want to say, hey, if you do these things, then you'll be very attractive to manufacturing jobs. I can't say that until I get manufacturing jobs to tell me this is how we interview, this is who we're looking for, and this is what's important to us. And so we will bake that in there, and so we have common language and shared data.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And that's part of you working with the local companies, which is great.
Correct. Correct.
So my I know that workforce initiatives put on by companies
Mhm.
can struggle a little bit. Are you guys bridging that gap with what you're doing so that you're connecting the right people with the right jobs in the future?
Yeah. So when you have a community based coalition, cooperative, this ecosystem that we're building out, every company and everybody needs to do their own. You can still do your own thing, have your own identity. An example of this is Arkansas State University has their system has a program called CREST. And it's kind of like manufacturers and industry has a connection with students, but it's at the collegiate level, right? If I have students, middle school, high school, there's, n- can I get the CREST people with who represents ASU and also represents industry, can I get them to show up at our event, and we have an event midway through the process called the Youth Empowerment Summit. Can I get them to be there? And so I don't need to reinvent. It's really just simply an invitation to the CREST program. Is it just a simple invitation if there's a pathway about leadership? Can we get the local mayor's office? The mayor has a youth initiative. Can we invite them to be at the event, right? We created our youth entrepreneurship program, but ASU, the Delta Center for Economic Development, has a program called Thrown to the Wolves. So we're working with them to what is the next logical step for those students who perform well at a certain band level, that have interest in Thrown to the Wolves, but they have to know about it. So we work with everybody in their system to different where what fits well for them to step into the ecosystem. Where do they fit? I'll give you another example. So at this Youth Empowerment Summit, on one half of it is, hey, I want employers to be there, right? But the other half is we need students to be there. So we're working with the East Initiative that's statewide and Skills USA that's nationwide, to help us connect with students that are in various STEM programs. So we want to fill up the auditorium. There's different things that we're doing, but that event brings employers and students to start forming relationships. Students will learn how to network. Students can make connections, and they'll be seventh, eighth, ninth graders. So again, I met a kid at 14 and an employer. I have a relationship with them. I'm tracking them because I'm part of JBA's dashboard. I can watch my 14-year-old, they're now 18 and they apply for a job. I've watched this kid grow. And so that's the beauty of when you bring everybody together.
Yeah, it's kind of like lightly recruiting, people as they move up. So I guess one thing that I want to learn really quick before we cut to a commercial break is just what are the most popular pathways that you're seeing among students these days? I've been removed from school for quite a while, and so I just am curious as to what you guys are seeing on your side.
So what we've seen, the most robust program that I've seen that has a lot of participation in it, are ones that deal with manufacturing. Like or ASU Newport has a program that, kids can be involved with that. I think the chamber has a program that they get into different industries. Um, and then medical. I mean, hats off to St. Bernard's and NEA Baptist that have programs that the kids get a chance to spend the whole day there to see what it's all about. So just think about it in the way that we do. The kids come there for one day. The opportunity is tracking that kid that came to your program in the ninth grade. Do you lose focus on them or do you lose track of them as they move through their high school career? Right? How do we create more readiness? And this is the way that we call them. How do we create readiness checkpoints and then validation checkpoints? So an example would be, um, I think the chamber works with a particular company. They have the STARS program, right? Um, that would be a validation. How do I get them ready for that? And it could be making sure the application's filled out. Maybe it's awareness. Maybe we have people come to the classroom and speak about it, because we have repetition there. We bring material. But again, it's illuminating the pathway and letting kids know that what's out there. So manufacturing is definitely there. They've done a lot of work with that. And then healthcare has done a very, very good job in terms of like illuminating pathways.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Well, Henry, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break and then we will
Okay.
be right back.
No problem.
Swept Away is a professional, commercial, and industrial cleaning service.
We are locally owned in Jonesboro, available to all of Northeast Arkansas.
We are a reliable company available 24/7.
So if your business needs floor care or carpet cleaning,
We'll make it happen.
Visit our website for a free quote or give us a call at 870-340-8533 and we'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Welcome back to NEA Impact. And we have a great show for you here with Henry Burrell. He is the founder of Jonesboro Business Association, otherwise known as JBA. And we have a few more questions for him that we'll dive right into. And Henry, I know you had mentioned that these programs or this ecosystem that you're building are is really starting in middle school around the seventh grade. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to dive deeper into, the psychology behind that. Why did you guys choose that age? And why does that make the most sense for starting this entire ecosystem?
Yeah. So behavioral scientists will let you know that in middle school is the year are the most difficult years in human development, right? You have so many different things that are going on. There is the quest for independence. You have biological hormonal changes that are going on. And it's very scary. There's also a process called echoing where kids are starting to look for, can I see who I think I am? Um, in somebody else. So the more options that I give a particular student outside their normal circle of influence, the better options they may have in connecting with a positive path that goes their way. If I only see one industry or one particular lifestyle, then I think that that's what my life can be. So we want to get more out there. So that's number one. The other thing is a concept. I also do work with a prevention provider. So prevention is believed that at seventh grade, there's a sixth grade, right? That you start working on what they call delayed risky behavior. And so, how do I get a student to delay their entryway in using gateway like narcotics or marijuana, vaping, so forth and so such?
Okay.
Statistical data shows that um, in the sixth grade, it's 12% of those students do some sort of experimentation. But by the time they get to the 12th grade, that number is 53%.
Wow.
So if we start earlier, right, research says that I can delay those risky behaviors by putting more options in front of that student. So why starting at that age? Because developmentally, that's where the magic happens. That's where the magic begins.
Yeah, yeah, and that's great
Yeah.
that everything
Mhm.
is so data related. I mean, you guys really dug into
Mhm.
where it's going to affect the students the most, and
Mhm.
that's great. So when you get to the point where you have, I mean, I just trying to remember myself in sixth, seventh grade.
Mhm.
I changed my mind about something every single day. So how do you get to the point where you're helping the students not only discover new opportunities, but then get to the point where they're deciding on, hey, this might be my pathway?
Yeah. So in our particular program, we break it up into three things, right? One, the first part of the program is the idea. So we ask students very simply, like, what do you see in the world and what would you want to change, right? And so there's a whole plethora of things that can turn into different professions. We ask them questions about core values and what their strengths. We have them journal. So we do a lot of questions um, about their why, who they are, we identify. And then we kind of like come up with a concept of a business plan, like how would you change that? We let them know in the middle one that if you want someone to write you a check, there's a particular format that needs to happen, right? It needs to be someone who's writing a check needs to know about your vision, your mission, your target market, your market strategy, money operations, and all of those things. So the structure is the business plan. And there's when we work with industry, when we have our guest speakers come in, we bring in real live people in every class to speak directly into, hey, let's flesh out your idea. Let's be a little bit more. Hey, you're making a number up. How many widgets do you need to sell to make that projected revenue? So we work on that business plan. We bring in marketers to say, I really don't understand where you're going, or you may be too broad. Having that feedback, having that constructive criticism lowers a student's anxiety and they start believing, yeah, my idea, which is my idea, has some validity to it. The third component of it is instilling enough courage for them to stand on stage to talk to a full audience about their plan. So then we start going into presentations and so forth and so such. And, you know, I don't want to name drop, but I think one of the greatest comments that we got from a speaker was from Bethania Harrison, where she said, if you want people to be interested, you have to be interesting. So the students took that and they stood up straight and they started to project a little bit more. And those who weren't speaking stood up and they were silent. So all of those things come into play. So how we get them ready is what's your idea? There's a format, there's rules, and then you have to have the courage to stand up there and speak about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the name drop is convenient because we're gonna have her on the show here pretty soon as well.
That's
So
my friend.
that's cool that you
Yeah.
mentioned her. Um, yeah, so I mean, I know you mentioned that there's job shadowing, there's internship potential. And so starting those things even in high school and being able to work with the high schools to have those situations, those programs, whether it's a full day, half a day, just a few hours, how important is that to just kind of showing the student that, hey, this is a real possibility for you if it's something that you really like?
Well, so that's the key right there. Before you get to the internship, because the internship, the job shadow, that's economic opportunity. If I don't connect one with that's really what I want to do, and this is not the end all, but something that I'm exploring, then I don't understand why I'm here and I don't perform at the highest level, then I don't get selected. Right. So there has to be this big paradigm shift in a student that this is a journey. Right. And as adults and as a group, whether you're an educator, whether you're a business person or a community leader, we all partake in building those relationships. We're all builders. And we're just trying to do this in such a way that's the easiest way that a community can galvanize itself, come together, touch, interact with a student, and then keep them moving. All right. But it has to be for us understanding and being crystal with them that this is an opportunity and you need to, again, soft skills that are missing about how to show up for an interview or, a job shadow or a day in the life event.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And what popped up in my head is, whether you're going into a manufacturing factory to shadow or you're going into a formal office,
Hmm.
those are very different places and there's different etiquette that's involved and ways to act. And so yeah, I can see that. And if you guys are touching on those, small skills that are then going to get them in the door and get them to not only get the opportunity, but perform on top of that,
Hmm.
that's just adding to the possibilities that they have, moving forward.
Correct. Correct.
And so, if I'm a local employer listening to this right now, how do I get involved with something like this? If I have an opportunity and I have a business and I say, "Hey, I would love to, get some of these kids involved," how would someone get involved?
Yeah, so the easiest way you can contact us directly by hitting us up on Facebook, or you can go to our website where there's a interested, communication portal in there, and that's www.jonesborobusinessassociation.com. Just reach out that way, and then we'll send you information about where we can be. One of the things that we're committed to, not only do we not want to be an opt-in, but the human interaction scientifically is probably the most important part of what it is that we do. And so we refuse and will never turn into self-paced program. We'll never tape uh, uh, a business leader that they'll zoom it in that way. You either be in the classroom or there'll be a live Zoom. So we make it very convenient. It's about a 45-minute, 30 to 45-minute interaction. There's really no prep. It's just you telling your story from how you came up with the idea for your path that you took, giving feedback about a business plan, or giving feedback about a presentation. And that's all that we need. But those 30 minutes that you spend with the student, the impact is immeasurable.
Yeah.
Immeasurable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine. So I had another random
Hmm.
question here. So I know there's I'm just thinking back to my experience and even in high school, where it might have been it's much later than where you're starting with these students, so that's great.
Hmm.
But towards the end of high school, I was asked the question, what do you want to do with your life? Right. And it was probably too late, right? Or a little
Hmm.
later than it should be. But I had the answer of either going to film school
Hmm.
or being a pilot. Those are very, very different pathways. Are
Hmm.
you guys giving the opportunity for creating multiple pathways and presenting that to them and saying, "Hey, this is what it's going to take. This is how it's going to be." Because I know when I was in high school, I was told to just pick one. I
Yeah.
wasn't shown
Yeah.
both pathways and the possibilities.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that. So we did a presentation for a group for 2 days. It's called Gear Up, right? And so what we presented to students was like, do you think that same question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you think that's a fair question? And the kids say no. And we dug into it. And again, we have data and research that we shared with Gear Up that's a pressure question, right? 86% of the students in some way found that that was pressure. Only 14% say I was comfortable with that. A more basic question that we ask during this process is, what do you, if you wanted to do a one word answer about who you want to become, what would it be? And we get answers. We don't get doctor, lawyer, or chemist. We get, I want to be helpful. I want to be kind. I want to be energetic, right? At the end of the day, that's where a student needs to latch on, because for me to be helpful, yeah, I could be a surgeon and be helpful to my patient, but I can also be a social worker and be helpful. So the question early on is, it's more about who do you think that you are? What is your belief system? It's okay not to have that answer. Take that pressure off and get in touch with who you are and believe in that before we start working on your ability, if that makes any sense. We're very grounded in belief before ability.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
belief and just well, really just believing in yourself
Hmm.
is the biggest part. And starting a business, going a certain career pathway, all of that, you need to believe in yourself because if you don't, you're just not going to perform. And it's as simple as that.
And we want you to be passionate, and we want people to go after things that they're passionate about, not things that they're good at. Because if you decide to go down the entrepreneurial path, right? I mean, you started a business. It's not easy at first. What gets you through is the love of what you do, right? And so being connected and being confident and belief in that is the starting point. That's the anchor. That's the thing that's going to get you around obstacles because there are going to be obstacles. And so at the end of it, you have a growth mindset means like, I'm going to work for company ABC, but I know I'm going to start in the mailroom. I'm going to be a contributor and I'll make my way up to the C suite. You have a lot of kids right now graduating high school want to be in a C suite. You're not there yet. slow,
Right.
slow down.
Right.
Slow down, Junior. And let's figure out how to get you the right way to do that. And that's where we measure readiness, we measure the track that you want to be on, and then connect you with as many organizations as we can to get you to where you want to go before you commit. That commitment point, college, job, or career, is just part of that tube of spaghetti. It's not linear, your growth. You're linear. It's you may graduate from high school and you have to be okay with, I'm going to go into the military, which is going to pay for college. I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to work for this person for 5 years. I'm going to start my own. Or I'm going to go to college, then I'm going to go to the military, then I'm going to it's all jumbled. And we make sure the kids know that life is complicated like that. But keep your eye on the prize and stay focused.
Yeah, I like that because a lot of the times you're just thinking, okay, I'm going to college, and you don't even really know what the next step is after that. So that's awesome
Mhm.
that you guys are kind of guiding them and giving them, like we talked about, either multiple pathways or the one pathway that they're really thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you guys have been around, I think you said for 2 years, correct?
So we've actually been around for 5. We celebrated our 5th year in existence last month. But
Okay.
so we beta tested the program in one school we took a year to make sure that we knew we wanted what path we wanted to be on. We did 2 years beta testing one particular program, and then the last 2 years we kind of like m- stopped phase 1, which was the beta test, and then molded it into what we're currently doing right now. So one of the things that we learned in our first 2 years is sustainability has to be based off of data and outcome evaluation. So what differs us from other programs or other organizations is we don't measure participation, we measure progress. Okay. We don't measure just someone's activity, we measure an outcome, right? And so those things are hugely important. It's a big difference. So I can, there are you need to track participation. We're just adding that layer that while they were participating, this is the progress that they made.
Okay. That's yeah. I mean that
Mm,
makes sense, and I
yeah.
can see why it's a little more successful with the metrics that you're tracking. So that's great. One last question that I have for you is, what are you excited about? You've been doing this for 5 years. What are you excited about for the future of what you're doing? Is there anything coming up? I know you talked about a dashboard. What are you excited about?
Yeah, so the being able to continue growing out the data collection points where people can see it is very important. So it'd be great to get to a point where we're sharing our data with educators, parents, and then with the business community, and then hopefully all of them together. Um, how the level of interest and how it fits into different communities. One of the things is designing this particular organization so it can be replicated wherever we go. So it's never going to be so like if we go to a different county, it's never going to be Jonesboro, whatever. We need to go into community and look at their infrastructure, work with their organizations, their capacity, their ability, and then show them how we've done it, share that, and then set them up for success for them to grow their own. That's the big thing. So I'm super excited about how well we can replicate in different areas other than Jonesboro. Like, is it translatable? How do we get to know these people? These are all things that are out there that are in front of us that it just makes it exciting. It makes it
Yeah,
exciting.
and also a very interesting process too to kind of see that data and how it changes from town to town.
Yeah, and every town has, the Department of Labor and Statistics, they can give you a number that's holistically about the state of Arkansas. But what we're experiencing in Jonesboro is not the same thing that they're experiencing in Mississippi County, right? It's totally different. The causality and the problems, it's different. But from a macro level, um, the incomes that are earned, right, in Mississippi County don't necessarily stay in Mississippi County. So your income, I drive into Mississippi County, which happens to be the largest steel producing county in the nation, right? I work there, I eat lunch there, but I shop and eat dinner and have pay my mortgages in another county, in another city. That's an issue. So when you talk about the exposure of a student, they see that. So we need to add on some other things. And then if it doesn't exist in their community, empower them to create it in their own community. How to start a business, how to fix your credit, how do you get things, all of those, how do you do it to scale? Okay, is the other thing, because that's how you get people to stay in a particular community. So we're excited to see how that manifests itself in especially in the rural Delta and stuff. I think there's a great opportunity there.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great, and sounds like a very interesting future. And I know you guys seem to be on the right track. This is eye opening. Every one of these
Hmm.
conversations that I have on this show is great. What I like to do at the end of each show is give the guest that's on, which is you, Henry, a
Hmm.
chance here to just kind of add anything that you would like at the end of the show, anything you want to get out into the community. Uh, Now's the time.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest one is how do you get people involved, right? So come to us, let's have a discussion. But we need people to mentor students. We need people to volunteer. We need to partner with as many schools. I mean, we are not well known. So if you're a parent and this is an idea that resonates with you, because we're in partnership together, contact your school officials, superintendent, principal, teacher, whatever, to say, hey, I think you need to know. And then again, go to our website and say, I approach so and so, and we'll follow up. Um, Come to us in some sort of way and share your story, because everyone's stories matter. Like, we have business leaders, but we also have business professionals, people who are in that mix of spaghetti that we're talking about, that they are high level executives or a decision maker in their particular company, but they have an idea, or they are exactly where they wanted to be in their path. Like, I don't want to own my own, but I want to work with the company because they have the resources to do the things that I dream about. So getting involved in that level. But the last sentence is, um, we just want to help people find purpose, um, build relationships, and connect opportunity with potential. And whatever that looks like for the listeners, we can fit you into the ecosystem in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Okay. Awesome. Well said there. And what we do on, on the video or the video description below the
Mhm.
video here, we'll have your website and your information. So if anyone ever wants to get in contact with you or reach out, they can do so pretty easily. So
Very good.
Henry, other than that, thank you very much for coming on the episode here of NEA Impact. We were excited to have you on, and you did nothing but deliver for us today. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Dagan. I appreciate you, and good luck with all the things you're doing.
Thank you very much, and that'll do it for our episode of NEA Impact. We'll be back very soon with another episode. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Swept Away is a professional, commercial, and industrial cleaning service.
We are locally owned in Jonesboro, available to all of Northeast Arkansas.
We are a reliable company available 24/7.
So if your business needs floor care or carpet cleaning,
We'll make it happen.
Visit our website for a free quote or give us a call at 870-340-8533, and we'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.